Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I learn a little bit more about somebody else's perspective on movies. And joining me for the second time is one of my good friends, Jim. Jim, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Shane. Always a pleasure.
Of course, and Jim is part of the movie club through the Development Hell podcast here on the Wasteland Reviewer YouTube channel. So if you want to check out all of our fun discussions we've been doing for a couple years at this point, so there's plenty of discussions to check out for sure. And but about Jim today and his love of film. So let's dive in with what I like to call like the watch list question. But what's previously released film that you have never seen that you're most interested in checking out?
I First of all, I can't believe it's been as long as it has with the movie club. It's crazy. But I
Hmm.
think my watch list is at 254
Okay.
or something like that. Um, um, so I struggled with this question for a second, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about Sinners from a lot
Okay.
of different people, and I haven't seen it yet. So that'll have to happen before Hulu gets subsumed by Disney, I guess. At that point, Disney will just be showing Sinners on the
Yep.
streaming platform, I suppose. But
Yeah, because
that's high up on the watch list, Sinners.
Disney a while ago set up parental codes for you to be able to set up because Hulu started coming in with like more mature content on it. But no, Sinners is excellent. And I am strongly suggesting all of my friends for my movie marathon in October for Halloween vote Sinners because we should we watch it. But I don't vote and I don't pick them. So I could just, encourage people to. But it's at this point, it's August 6th as we're recording this, and it's still my number one movie of the year. And it's like, it was an easy decision. Like, this is my number one movie of the year. Obviously, we're going to be getting into that fall time where a lot of like the awards contenders come out. Sinners better be there, getting some awards consideration for sure,
Yeah,
especially
people
for
better
Ryan
not forget
Coogler.
about everything that happens in the first. It wasn't even the first 6 months, though, was it? Didn't it come out in July?
No, it was a March
Oh
release.
my gosh, I'm so behind the times.
Or I think it was very early April. I think so. So it was at least within, it was either March or April. I'm pretty sure it was April because I think it was originally supposed to come out in March and then they moved it again. But no, so there's been some films that have been able to keep up the momentum, but not a ton. And that's a shame, which is stupid. It's just like you have that short of attention span and memory to like forget and like a masterpiece of a movie that came out literally this year. But
Yeah.
a lot of movies come out, and now all the voters have to watch them all, apparently, because that wasn't the case up to this point, which is kind of concerning. But let's point in a different direction. What's an upcoming film you're most excited about?
I think, I mean, it's the Odyssey. It's got to be the Odyssey.
Hmm.
But the casting, everybody else is raving about the casting, and it kind of makes me nervous. Like they just looked at kind of like a list of the top paid actors in Hollywood, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh, we can use this person, and we can use this person, and we can use this person. Um, I know Matt Damon can carry a movie. I've seen it
Hmm.
before. I'm just nervous about maybe since Napoleon, like that. It was traumatic watching Napoleon and just seeing Joaquin Phoenix struggle on screen for 2.5, three, whatever, how many hours it was.
It was close to
Um,
3 hours.
I love the Odyssey. I love the Iliad. I love
Yeah.
Homer. Um, so I'm gonna wait for it to come out and kind of hear some trusted. I'm glad I have you at least
Mhm.
on my feed. Hear what some trusted people have to say about it before I decide if I'm going to do it or not.
It's certainly a film that's high on my list because one, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, and two, I'm a huge fan of mythology. And it's interesting because I think Matt Damon made an impact with his smaller role in Interstellar and then his sizable supporting role in Oppenheimer, that he grew this relationship with Christopher Nolan to the point where he's like, I told my wife, I'm like, I'm going on like a hiatus from acting, and the only way I'm coming out of this is if Chris Nolan reaches out. And apparently he did. And one of those kinds of things. I'm just I just can't wait to see how he brings it to life with his specific approach to filmmaking, because it's going to be practical and it's completely shot on IMAX cameras, the whole entire film. And I want to know how he has monsters in this and how he's going to approach that with like not trying to use CGI, like the Cyclops and stuff like that. I will lose it if somebody announces that they're making the Aeneid. As somebody who took 5 years of Latin and translated 9 out of 12 books of it from Latin into English, and also being, uh, Italian American who has family from Rome, just like it's my roots, my people originally go back to Troy, apparently, if you believe in that. But, and I think so many of those stories have great opportunities. And I think it has to be a very specific kind of filmmaker. I trust Christopher Nolan at this point, but it is a very interesting and eclectic cast. For sure. It's just like having both Tom Holland and Zendaya in this movie is kind of just like, really though?
I know Tom Holland is going to play Telemachus. I
Mhm.
don't. Who is Zendaya going to be?
I don't
No.
recall. Because
Okay.
the in that teaser trailer, we only really see three people. And you hear John Leguizamo, I think, narrating, because he's a Odysseus's like servant guy who's like trying to keep things um doing the upkeep while he's gone all this time. And then you see John Bernthal and Tom Holland um
Hmm.
interacting with each other in the trailer, because like they're buddies. They've been helping each other out get roles for a few years since they were in that film The Pilgrimage together, some random film that I don't think the vast majority of people have even heard of. But it'll be interesting for sure, and there's a crap ton of people in it and a bunch of very famous actors, so like Nolan does. But looking to our next question, so remakes are a hot button issue because a lot of people don't want to see remakes of things, but we certainly get a lot of them. But Jim, what's a film that you actually want to see remade?
I'm sure I have better answers filed away, but it's The
Hmm.
Hobbit. That one hurt, man. It
Yeah.
really did. It was so I mean you were just talking about Nolan. He's never really dropped his stinker. Like there have
Hmm.
been some movies that I couldn't quite get into, but like
I feel like
they've always
Tenet's the
been.
closest to being like, what
Mhm.
are we doing here?
But it was
But
still thought-provoking and kind of cool to
yeah.
look at, you know.
Hmm.
Um Peter Jackson did what? Lord of the Rings. Did he do that Alien flick? He did a couple movies in between that and The
So
Hobbit,
he
right?
he did King Kong.
Oh, King Kong.
There was a lot of he did The Lovely Bones. And then there was a lot. He was supposed to make a Halo movie at some point, and a bunch of other
Hmm.
stuff that never came to fruition. Because like this wasn't supposed to be him. It was supposed to be Guillermo del Toro, also notorious for being attached to projects that never actually happened. Um,
And I
but
did see Guillermo del Toro's touch towards the end. I just
mhm,
I remember seeing the first movie and I was so dead set on liking it that I liked it, even
mhm,
though I didn't like it. And then I was like, the second one's gonna be better. And it wasn't. And then the third one came out, and I was like, well, I have to see it. It was like an
yeah,
event. All my siblings went, my cousin came, like we all came. And I think my favorite part of that final third was Guillermo del Toro's monster making, you know? Um,
it's
but
pretty
yeah,
obvious at that
I
point.
love that story. I love Lord of the Rings. I love The Hobbit. And I don't know, it just felt like uh it felt like betrayal from a friend, you know, to see somebody go and turn The Hobbit into a 9-hour trilogy when it's only about
Well,
that big,
like
you know.
I don't know if you have a close connection to the Rankin Bass Hobbit movie that came out in the 70s, the animated one. But
That
like,
was the one that I watched growing up. I'd never seen the Lord of the Rings Rankin. Well, it wasn't Rankin Bass, was it? I'd never seen the
well,
animated Lord of the Rings until way
well, that's
later.
interesting because the Hobbit's Rankin Bass, Lord of the Rings is Ralph Bashki,
Oh, that's
and
right.
then the Return of the King's Rankin Bass, and then the Lord of the Rings and Return of the King don't mesh.
Yeah.
It's such a weird experience. But just watching The Hobbit, I watched that for the first time like sometime last year.
Really?
And yeah, and it was exactly what it needed to be. Like The Hobbit doesn't need to be the Lord of the Rings because it's not.
No.
It's not written the same way. It's very much a children's book. It's the whole entire reason why like Bilbo gets knocked out for all the crazy action and stuff. And Jackson's like, well, we need to take 5 pages of Smaug attacking Lake Town and 2 pages of Bilbo being told about the Battle of the Five Armies and make a 2 hour and 20-minute movie out of it. Um, and then throw in some fanfic with Galadriel, Gandalf, and Elrond going after the Necromancer, aka Sauron.
Yeah,
Um,
and a romance because why not? You know.
I just I would love I agree. I would love to see a live action film even like 2.5 hours, tell the whole story in one movie. It's all you need, and give it a lighter tone. Like we don't need to see like endless carnage of orcs getting decapitated that the
It
Battle
was
of the
really,
Five
yeah,
Armies
it was
was.
really violent, wasn't it? But it was like video game violence.
Well, it is very true because they look so fake. Everything looks so fake, and the extended editions are rated because of how much crazy violence that they put into it. I
Hmm.
just there are films that like I'll watch honestly because I just feel like I enjoy watching Middle Earth stuff. It's like I watch Rings of Power too and stuff like that, but like The Hobbit just felt so disappointing in so many ways. And it's just like it should never have been 3 movies. It's like,
No.
why'd you do this? Money, that's why. Thanks,
Money.
Warner Brothers. So now, Jim, what's your fondest memory of going to the movies?
I had to think about this one for a second because I think I've forgotten about a lot of experiences, but Shaun of the Dead, I remember being really
Nice.
special. Um, I I don't remember if this was before or after I'd seen like Hostel, for example, like a
Okay.
really ultra violent, torture porn. I don't even, is that the genre, torture porn? What would you even call it?
I think
Hard
that's just what people casually call it. I don't know if that's like it is a subgenre of horror. It's basically extreme violent body horror,
body
right?
horror, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Shaun of the Dead was not that, but
Yeah.
I went into the movie not being super excited about the horror element because I knew I wasn't a fan
Mm.
um, of the genre based on what I'd seen up to. I was a teenager. Like Shaun of the Dead
Mm.
was like oh 04 or
War.
something.
Yep.
Yeah. But that was a blast because everybody was just there was no serious moment in the movie. Like the violence was had people like laughing and shrieking and it was over the top and the jokes got laugh out loud reactions. And me as an introvert, like I might even stop and think, wait, is that funny? Like overanalyze it a little bit. The audience was really engaged for that movie. And it kind of uh, lost the stigma that body horror would have for me
Hmm.
because it was just fun, you know. So like,
Hmm.
yeah, that was having kind of pockets of people and the whole theater laughing at certain times in the movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the Cornetto trilogy. I think the only one that I saw in a theater was this in The World's End. And I remember seeing that in college because that came out in 13, I think, and I just had such a blast with all of them. The World's End's actually my favorite, and then Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. But to be
Really?
honest, I and I'm honestly, I think it's because those genres speak to me more. I'm a huge sci-fi guy, so like I loved the idea of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, except like lampoon version.
Right.
And I love action movies and the wild, completely unexpected mixture of action and folk horror that they did for Hot Fuzz. Because like the whole entire like neighborhood watch stuff's like ripped right out of the Wicker Man.
Mm.
Stuff like that, which is so wild, which is even more interesting is that they even cast Edward Woodard um from the original Wicker Man, the cop, as the head of the neighborhood watch in Hot Fuzz.
Oh, okay. This all went over my head. I watched Hot Fuzz. I've watched the whole trilogy, but probably like at the time it came out, so it's been a minute.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But no, there's a whole bunch of layers to like all of the townsfolk in that film are a bunch of really famous character actors. Like even the priest is Belloc from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then also for 90s kids, he was Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So just throwing that out there.
Good reference.
Now, Jim, what's a film that really exceeded your expectations going into it?
There have been a few that like I had high expectations for, and then I went into the theater and they were they were met. But I picked La Auto Montañas,
Okay.
The Eight Mountains, which I know you've seen. I think we've
Yeah.
exchanged a few words over this movie. I saw it at Sundance, and the funny thing about Sundance is you usually only get a few sentences of exposition or explanation,
Mm.
and maybe a photograph or two.
Yeah.
I like that. Um, I prefer not to watch trailers and just go into something, completely blank. Um, and I think I was just in the right place for a movie that took its time, that had a soundtrack that's like right in the vein of music that I listened to, that like was no struggle. It was comfortable, in
Mm.
some ways to just fall into the mountain scenery and the music. And I always kind of expect in a slow movie, a lot of Montañas is quite long. It's a pretty long movie. It's about
Mm.
3 hours, maybe a little bit less. I think. And I always expect, I'm like bracing myself for the big blow up moment where like some kind of manufactured drama hits
Mm.
and somebody dies or there's a huge fallout between the characters. And this movie just didn't have it. And the relief kind of that was, I was like, oh, a movie can be made without
Mm.
needing to force like the tension up to a certain point, breaking point and this and that. Like it took its time and it knew what it wanted to say. And the end of the movie gets a little weird because it leaves the setting that most of the movie is in,
Mm.
which is in the mountains. So that's a little bit jarring, but I don't really have anything bad to say about the movie. Um, I expected kind of a five, and I got like a 9.5 or a 10
Mm.
of a movie. Like if I can't improve it, I guess it's a 10, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember seeing this movie at all? Do you remember
I
the
do remember
yeah,
watching it, and
particulars?
that's the interesting thing because like I watch so many movies, and the vast majority of them, I have no idea what the hell the movies how a lot of the time because unless I see the trailer in a theater or like I'll watch a Marvel trailer online because like I'm gonna be watching them anyway, and I'm excited about them anyway. But like, I much prefer to like, I get, I know this movie's coming out. I'm gonna get a screening link. I'm not gonna know much about it. I like that. I like going in and films like that are like the perfect example of just you go in, you don't have any kind of expectations, and you can be really impressed by stuff. And, you know, I had one of those situations this year called Sorry Baby that I had no idea what this movie was about. All I knew it was an A24 release. So like I have some kind of expectation of quality there, and it just absolutely blew me away. It's my top 5 movies of the year. I was just so impressed by it. And I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know who was in it. I just knew like on the poster the main uh actor is holding a cat, and like that part of the movie was absolutely adorable. But like those kinds of things, it's something really special being able to like I have no expectations, and that is the cool thing. Like I've never gone to a film festival to this point because like I can get press credentials for them, but like trying to balance new releases and a job and then trying to go to like a watch all the film festival stuff, it's just a lot to try to balance. But I do occasionally get like screening links from some festival releases, and or like I'll occasionally buy a couple from like Sundance and stuff like that because they do the online version of that. And it's really interesting when like I've watched this movie and then it comes out like the following year. I'm like, this looks really familiar. Wait a minute, I did watch this before.
Maybe you could just like revisit the original review or something and kind of
Yes.
put an addendum on it. I remember seeing Sorry Baby on your top 10, but to be fair, I hadn't heard of at least half of your top 10. So
Yeah. Um,
that would be me going into any one of those movies.
which like have like Wallace and Gromit, which is one of the most popular ones, which God, I watched that January 1st and it's still my top 10 because it was an absolute delight. But now, yeah, I it's very interesting asking this question because not everybody is like a reader and reads a lot of stuff, but if you could adapt any written work into a film, what would it be?
There are so many contestants, which
Hmm.
upsets me because you keep seeing remake after remake after remake. Where there have been scripts, original scripts floating around Hollywood for years, and it's just too much of a risk. Like nobody wants to touch it. Um, there are so many, but
Hmm.
I read Margaret Atwood's The Blind Assassin,
Okay.
2 or 3 years ago. Margaret Atwood of The Handmaiden. No,
Handmaid's
yes,
Tale. Yep.
Handmaid's Tale. Handmaiden is that Korean movie, right?
Which
Okay,
is also great. I love that movie.
not to be confused with the other. Handmaid's Tale, right? Um, Same author, different story. The Blind Assassin is set in Toronto, and it has 2 or 3 different storylines. Um, and it's very, I don't know. I've been keeping a list of things that I would want to try my hand at if I was going to adapt a screenplay.
Hmm.
This would not be the first one I would try, but it's on that list. Like Frankenstein for me would have been my answer before Nosferatu came out last year. That one stuck closer to the book than any movie I'd seen
Which
previously.
and that's always the interesting thing because Dracula and Frankenstein have been adapted so many times, but like there's always room to try to do something different and interesting with it. Like Guillermo del Toro has a new Frankenstein coming
Exactly.
out this year, and also Maggie Gyllenhaal has a new Frankenstein coming out as well, with Jesse Buckley and Christian Bale as the preacher and the wife. Um,
Interesting.
so even the fact that we're still getting like two at the same time kind of thing. And, you know, that's the interesting thing about classic literature like that. But I I'm a huge fan of The Handmaid's Tale. I wish that show was 3 or 4 seasons instead of 6 because it spun its wheels for like 2 whole seasons. But like the first couple and that last season were so amazing. And if it didn't have those like two extra seasons in it, it'd probably be talked about as one of the best shows on television.
Mm.
Um, Especially definitely one of Hulu's best by far. So I'd be very interested to see any of her other works adapted into something because like they really stretched that book, turning it into a television series because I'm pretty sure they used all the material from the book in like the first season. And they're just like, well, we can keep going.
I think I only saw the first season. Um, yeah, I remember it being pretty dark. I just wasn't in a place for a dark show at that time. I don't really remember why I didn't continue, but I remember it being good.
Absolutely. And I usually enjoy watching more fun shows, to be honest. But like I know right now Jess and I are binge watching Twin Peaks, which is fun in a way, but also really weird and twisted because Lynch. Um,
Lynch.
but now thinking about this, which is funny because we were talking about how you don't like to watch trailers, and I
Mhm.
tend to not want to watch trailers. But what is your favorite movie trailer?
The one that stands out most to me is the Fellowship of the Ring because I have a distinct memory of being like, I don't know, 11, 12,
Mhm.
something. And I read the trilogy
Mhm.
not too long before. And I remember saying to my mom, like, I would want to make a PG-13 movie of this. And she looked up at me and she was like, What? What do you mean? I was like, well, it's scary. It's supposed to be kind of scary. And then, the word came out that Jackson was doing exactly that. So I waited on a dial-up modem for like an entire day for that
Yeah,
trailer to load. And the anticipation was like at its breaking point. So excited to watch that trailer. And it didn't ruin the movie, which many trailers do. I
they
just
sure
don't know what I'm
do.
gonna get. Like
Mhm.
before uh if I go into a feature film now, you'll get how many trailers? Four? I don't know, five?
At AMC between 7 and 10.
Damn. Um
Yeah.
they it's like somebody decided that they need to follow the storyline and show bits and pieces from what could be a storyline. And they
Mhm.
could be tricking me, but I don't have enough faith in them for that. So like pretty much they show you parts from the whole movie and if you have any imagination whatsoever, you can figure out what's
Figure
going to
out.
happen in the movie. And then once you know what's going to happen, why would I watch the movie unless the special occasion?
I think the most egregious one I ever watched was the 3.5 minute, which also no trailer should be 3.5 minutes. You don't need to show that much footage from the movie. 3.5 minute trailer of Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, and it
Oh, I
was literally the whole movie.
never saw it. Yeah.
Whole movie. I took my mom to go see it because she loves Jason Statham. Um, and after watching the movie, I'm like, I literally saw this whole entire movie in the trailer before watching this movie. I don't remember any of the Lord of the Rings trailers because I was 9 when I think the trailer for Fellowship came out. The reason I knew about it was because my elementary school had like a troupe come in and do a stage performance of The Hobbit.
Really?
And then they were like, and the sequel books from J.R.R. Tolkien are coming out in movies this year. And I remember, I think it was my aunt that told me about Harry Potter, like being coming movies, because like those came out the same month.
Hmm.
Fellowship of the Ring and Sorcerer's Stone both came out in the December 2001. And like that was before I remember watching trailers and stuff like that. Like I would have to really think about what was the first movie trailer that like really stuck with me. But I have those kinds of moments with like the Mad Max Fury Road trailer. I was so hyped when that trailer dropped, and I watched that so many times, and stuff like that. But I, unless it was like, I remember the Force Awakens trailer too. That was a big deal for me. Like, oh, you know what? I do recall the Revenge of the Sith trailer. That's probably the first one that I was like super, super hyped about. Like, I need to go watch this trailer because,
Okay.
I was a big Star Wars kid. And being 8 years old when Phantom Menace came out, and then that came out in '05, so I was 14. Um, I remember being in middle school because one of my social studies teachers saw the midnight premiere of Revenge of the Sith
Nice.
and then came in and bragged to a bunch of seventh graders that he got to see it already.
Did he put the movie down or he was just excited to be
No,
there?
he's like, it was the most amazing thing ever, kids. And he's just like, basically like, I got to see it. You didn't. I'm like, wow, Mr. Agnew. So still remember that for sure. Thinking about a little bit of music in movies, what's your favorite use of a song in a movie?
I think, and I might change this when we have a conversation at a later date, but I think it's just called Bell Bottoms in Baby Driver.
Yep. Bell
Uh,
bottoms. Bell
Bell
bottoms.
Bottoms.
Yeah.
That's the way the movie starts, I
Oh,
think.
yeah.
And like the camera introduces us to the main character in a way that like kind of tells us a lot. It tells us a lot about him. Edgar Wright, that's who made that movie.
Yep.
Um, bring up Edgar Wright a couple times today. Yeah,
He has excellent execution of music in movies, like for sure.
it makes me think of the jukebox scene in Shaun of the Dead when Queen comes
Don't
on.
stop me now. We're having a
Um,
good time.
yeah, but the Baby Driver using that song, it sets a really upbeat tone for the movie in a similar way to like Blue Swede and Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yep.
maybe. But
Mhm.
technically the camera work I think is really good in that whole sequence. And it shows us and it doesn't tell us in the best way
Mhm.
a lot of things about this character that we're going to spend 2 hours with. And then
Because
it gives us
Baby
a
Driver,
great chase scene.
well, because Baby Driver feels like a really unconventional musical in the sense that the whole entire movie is just full of music because it's his headspace and he's
Yeah.
always listening to music. Edgar Wright does such a great job incorporating music into his movies. I'm ready for some really awesome needle drops in The Running Man. But I think my personal favorite use of a song by him in a movie is the Alabama song, Whiskey Bar by The Doors in The World's End. Because once they realize that like they're super drunk and there's aliens replacing people. They're like, we need to act cool and casual. And then it's like, "Brum, bim, brum, bim, brum, bim," and they're like walking really awkwardly in sync down the street and having all the blanks just be like staring at them. It's such a funny sequence and it's such a random song, but it's the tempo, it's the and just the way that they're walking in sync the whole entire time. It's hilarious. But Edgar Wright's definitely one of those filmmakers that really makes the most. And the whole Baby Driver soundtrack is ridiculous from top to bottom. And it's not just a bunch of stuff that you would expect. Like it has Queen in it, but it's like the 30 something Queen song I would think of put in a movie kind of thing.
I
So,
remember I was at work on the ski resort or at the slopes at the ski resort.
mm,
And one of the instructors came by with his kids. I was operating just the carpet on the bunny hill. So not really much to do except listen to music and watch the kids fall. So one of the instructors came down and he was like, "Oh man, you always have the best music on." and it was I'd put on the Baby Driver soundtrack that day. And
Nice.
like 5 minutes later, somebody else came by and was like, ah, "Yeah, I like it. Oh, this is great, man. Who you listening to?" I was like, "It's a soundtrack. I'm cheating. Like Baby Driver
Mhm.
soundtrack. Like go check it out." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I love that movie. It's a great movie."
I have the vinyl over in my collection here.
Nice.
Um, I do love the movie soundtracks and scores. Um, I just I had a moment when I used to work at a country club and a snack bar over the summer in college, and I'd just be blasting my music on the radio in the snack bar. And like I'd just be listening to Rush all the time and stuff like that. And Lee, one of the pool managers, would walk in. It's like Shane's World, party time, excellent. Like, yep, I appreciated that reference for sure. Now, thinking about scores, I don't know, Jim, if you're the kind of person that sits down and just listens to scores, but if you had to sit down and listen to any movie score, what's it going to be?
I feel really guilty saying Braveheart, but I
It's so
had
good
that
though.
I had that on cassette. Right, James Horner's
Yes.
Braveheart. Got to give credit where it's due there. The
Mhm.
yeah, there are a couple of themes in that soundtrack that are just really get stuck in your I don't know, like right in here, you know. There's like the tin whistle theme that comes with Muriel, I think, his love interest.
Mhm.
And then there's another with a lot more swell that
Yeah.
is eventually the finale.
Yeah.
Um, I listened to that and I listened to the Gettysburg score
Nice.
when I was studying as a kid a lot. And I don't listen to as many scores as I would like to now. Um, but like off the top of my head, that's gotta be it.
The I have a playlist on Spotify called Is This Batman? Because it's just a bunch of pieces of score because anytime I listen to sound like scores for movies, Jess is like, is that Batman? That's her first guess for everything. But like I definitely have a bunch of pieces of Braveheart from that. Like the music when he like the freedom, like the moment where they're torturing him and everything, he just like and it's just that beautiful shot up of his hand and like dropping the cloth out of it and just the music playing in the background. It's just so much emotion to it. And James Horner was one of the best. And like he did some amazing, like obviously Titanic too is going to be one of his most iconic. He did Wrath of Khan, Aliens. Oh my God, that Alien score is fantastic too. Rest in peace, James Horner. Which I think his last score was Avatar, if I'm not mistaken, working with James Cameron again because they did a lot of work together.
The
So,
original Avatar or the second Avatar?
the first one, because I think he passed
Oh,
away around 2010 or something like that,
okay.
which was a shame because like he wasn't even that old, to be honest. And it was because like you think about like the 90s, it's movie scores are Hans Zimmer and James Horner territory for
Right.
sure. They made all the big ones for sure. Now, Jim, my last question for you is it's the what really grinds my gears question. What's the one thing you wish movies would stop doing?
I was gonna say forcing romances where they don't belong, but it's already come up a couple times in this discussion. Stop stretching content and material just to put just to make more money because you think
Mhm.
people are dumb and they're gonna give you money to watch terrible adaptations. Make it
So,
shorter, tighter, and good, and hopefully, against hope, people are going to actually enjoy that. I don't. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, you mentioned it with TV series, right?
yeah.
And I mentioned it in The Hobbit. Like,
Mhm.
you really, a good idea is only so good, and then it starts to come apart. You know.
Well, I have one specific franchise that I have a current gripe with because Do you remember The Strangers that came out with like Liv Tyler, and it was like about like this couple that gets their like place invaded by these like masked people.
Yeah,
So
I
they
do.
made.
I thought that movie, I got that crossed up with Eden Eden Lake is the movie.
Mm,
It's like the British version of that, I think. Like a
interesting.
couple was on a honeymoon or a getaway or something, and they get harassed by like I don't know, or funny games, that kind of genre of film, right?
So they're making a trilogy,
Hmm.
like a pre-planned trilogy. And I watched the first film and it felt like such a cop out that the story didn't end. And I'm just like, the ending made no sense. And I'm like, this literally only exists so that there can be a second one and
Mhm.
then a third one. And it's just like, why? Just make a damn movie. Not everything needs to have like an epic threequel of like trilogy out of it. And like, I'm going to contradict myself because not going to lie, I'm pretty excited about this 28 years later trilogy, especially after watching the first one. Like, make a good movie first, and then figure out if you want to continue the story or not.
And
And
and then you have years to,
yeah,
you have years to make my I have a bone to pick with True Detective still after one of the best seasons of television ever. You could see that season two was rushed. They were like, "Oh, people love this. Give us more right now." And he did his best, and season two kind of sucked.
well, and I don't even feel like the second and third season 100% even captured because like obviously you have all the crime drama element of that first season that really works, but there's also something dark and haunting and mystical and strange that's incorporated into that story. And I really don't think that like the second or even the third season, which I like the third season a lot more than I like the second season, it didn't feel like it captured the same kind of spirit. Like that True Detective first season with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, like captured a spark. And like, did you need to make an anthology out of this?
No, you
And
didn't. But they did come
no,
back around to that in the most recent season.
that I know a lot of people had a lot of negative feelings about the most recent season, but like it felt the most true to the spirit of that first season because like there was something dark and ominous, really like something eerie and supernatural like looming over the story. And like you can't go
Yeah.
wrong with Jodie Foster. She's amazing. Um, I'm not going to argue that any of the performers didn't do a great job because like it made me happy to see because the second season was Colin Farrell and Vince Vaughn, right? Uh,
Colin Farrell, Vince Vaughn, um, Taylor Kitsch, Taylor
oh,
somebody,
Taylor
and
Kitsch really got the raw end of the stick when they tried
he
to make him
did.
the.
And then there was a female lead who's a really good actor. Um,
Remember here. I'm
Rachel McAdams, maybe? It
I'm
was Rachel
really
McAdams in season two.
I'm really trying hard not to mix up True Detective and Fargo,
Oh, okay. Fair
which
enough.
um honestly I love the Fargo anthology show, and I feel like they've had really consistent quality. I think the only one that wasn't great was season four with Chris Rock and Jason Schwartzman, but it did still have some great elements to it. But like one of my favorite seasons of television ever was season two of Fargo with Patrick Wilson, Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, Ted
Mhm.
Danson.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Rachel McAdams was in that second season. And then like the third season was Mahershala Ali and Stephen Dorff. I love Stephen Dorff. I think he's one of the most underappreciated character actors working. crazy to think that he was the villain in Blade back in 97 when he was younger.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because I heard rumors that they're trying to do season five of True Detective and bringing back McConaughey and Harrelson. I'm
Mm,
like, I don't know if that's a choice to make here, but we'll have to see. But yes, make a good thing and be okay with it and just kind of let it go. And if
right.
it really has more story to tell, then go on and develop it. But
Yeah.
Jim, I always like to wrap up my show by having my guests ask me a question. So what would you like to ask the Wasteland Reviewer?
You might have answered this question to me already at a different time, but what would you like to see remade, possibly into a serial or a TV show of multiple seasons?
I'm trying to remember what I answered when I did this but that was like a couple of years ago at this point that I answered these questions. The Nice Guys is always floating up there because I feel like that's the only way we're gonna get a sequel to that movie is
Okay.
make it into a show. And I love Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe in that. And that is just perfect for like a show. Like they have their crime of the week or investigation of the week as private investigators and they get up to their shenanigans. I'm trying to think what else. Um, I'm not opposed to a lot of people said the Eternals, the Marvel film should have been a series because they
Mm,
tried to introduce so many characters. This might sound a little sacrilegious at this point because they're going to be anchoring the whole next phase after Secret Wars around the X-Men. I wouldn't be as opposed to a live action X-Men show because I feel like obviously the X-Men really works well as a show. That 90s cartoon is amazing. And I love the X-Men 97 rebirth of it. I think just comic book, like Spider-Man, X-Men, if you have that many, like even Batman, like obviously the Batman the animated series is incredible because like they have so many villains to play around with. And
mm,
obviously like the Adam West show, obviously much more campy and silly. But like I feel like there's certain things that make more sense as a series and being able to do them. But I'll give you a little bit of hot take here. I am super frustrated by the amount of stories that are being turned into miniseries that should have just been a movie.
mm,
Because I feel like the pendulum is swinging towards television at the moment because only so many films go into theaters and really work and make money at this point. And I say it's a boom of streaming services that's shifting so many creative projects to series instead of films. Like, just look at Apple. They release so many shows, and I have to say, like 90% of the miniseries I watch, I'm just like, this could have been a movie. Like, this didn't need to be 6 hours. This could have been 2.5 hours and just been a movie. Almost
right.
every single Marvel show, almost, should have just been a movie.
Mm,
And they kind of felt that way and they just stretched it out. Or even like, which this was supposed to be a movie, the Obi-Wan show for Disney Plus for Star Wars. That was supposed to be a movie.
mm.
And they're like, well, we're going to stretch it out and put it on Disney Plus. That was
Who
not the
who
right decision.
plays Obi-Wan? I've
It's Ewan McGregor comes back and plays
Oh,
Obi-Wan.
nice. Okay. That's well, good for you and McGregor.
Well,
I'm
and
way behind on the Star Wars material. I haven't even watched Andor yet or Rogue One.
I
So
would,
that's where I am.
those would probably be the thing that I would prioritize first. My favorite thing that they've done is The Mandalorian, on Disney Plus. And the thing is, The Mandalorian actually feels like a show because like they'll have like Monster of the Week or like Conflict of the Week on a certain planet kind of episodes. It
Yeah.
felt serialized. It felt like an old school Western, made in space. the third season feels a little bit more like, hey, we're trying to tell a bigger story, but you know, it got into a formula. It'd be like, we need to go get something. And here's the episode where we're getting there. And then this is the episode where we got there and had to do it. And then the next thing is where we're going somewhere. And then we got to do something. And that just kind of like rotated episodes. But like that worked for me. People complained. I think to the same point, basically movies being turned into miniseries has killed audience's expectations of what a damn TV show is supposed to be. Like a TV show is supposed to be something that you could come back to weekly. And it's just television used to be 20 episodes a season. Like they weren't a 20-hour movie. You would tell the whole story in 40 minutes or
Right.
22 minutes, depending on if you were a half-hour show or an hour show. But there are a few things that I would like to see turn into a show. Nice Guys is still up there. And I'm always down for comic book shows because they just fit that mold well. But I can't wait for the shift away from let's make a mini series out of this instead of a movie when you only have two two good hours of material and you had a if a show feels like they just cut up a movie into pieces and it's just continuous flow, it's like, why'd you make a show then? Like
Right.
it's not medium for this, but
Or
it's a good
then you have to
question.
make filler. Yeah. And the Nice Guys could totally become a TV show, but there's
Mhm.
no way they're going to get the same actors to play the same characters, you know?
I think the roadblock with that would be Russell Crowe because I think he's particular about what he does because he doesn't even do sequels. But he said the one sequel I'd love to make is The Nice Guys.
Oh,
And it's like,
nice.
so would the rest of us. You'll see a sequel to The Nice Guys. And like he has they're making a new Nuremberg film that comes out this fall. And I'm pretty sure he's Goring going on trial and
Okay.
stuff like that. So like he's always looking for like that kind of stuff. It was a delight to see him in something like The Nice Guys, to be perfectly honest, because he's funny. He can be really funny. Him and Ryan Gosling are so good in that. Damn. Now I want to rewatch The Nice Guys. But Jim, thank you so much for coming on and chatting movies with me.
Always a pleasure, Shane.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.